But having this in a single device, it is really cool because you can just take it outside of your bag. You can record a really high quality YouTube video because you have the XLR interface there and the cam link, and then also edit on this device because you have all the macros there. This video was sponsored by Elgato. So I don't entirely know how to start this story, but a little while ago Elgato reached out and they offered to send me the Streamdeck Plus with all of the accessories. So the USB hub that comes out the back, the XLR input that you can put at the back, which is basically like the Wave XLR but then attached to the Streamdeck, and the Streamdeck Plus has all of the knobs on there, which makes it really useful for editing and that kind of stuff. It's a great device, but I've been thinking about like integrating a cam link into it, because you have the XLR input there, right? If you add a cam link to that, make this 10 gigabit, then you have like this all-in-one device for streamers. And you definitely have like the Rodecaster video product over here, but every time I see these things being used in the real world, like I work in video production, is in conjunction with a Stream Deck, because Stream Decks are incredibly customizable. And so I'd rather have Elgato make something like this, but then in 4K, so that YouTubers can also use them for talking headshots. But it's really nice that they come from a streaming background, because that means their devices are incredibly reliable. Like if you'd make a product for streaming that crashes every once in a while, that's not going to get sold. I've been using this one for like, I don't know, 3 years, I believe. It's doing pretty good. I wonder if we can increase the thermal thing as well, because sometimes it overheats. So yeah, my goal with this was just to check out if a sponsor would really hate it if I took apart their stuff. I wonder what's actually inside of it. Because the content I like to make on the channel is doing these types of projects, you know, taking it apart and then having this theoretical idea behind it. Like, this would be really cool to have, putting it inside of a different casing, maybe doing a themed build around it, you know. Jeez. It appeared that in the inside of the cam link there was like some kind of metallic stuff. It's a very strange design. I've never actually seen that before. Like, it's almost like a copper paint or something like that. So yeah, this is the thing that I'm most worried about. I don't know how they connected that, but it doesn't look really removable or anything. So all of the Streamdeck Plus products come with this like very sticky adhesive at the bottom, but it's not really adhesive, like it's reusable adhesive, and you do actually have to peel that off to get to the screws, or you could like poke a hole in the adhesive to unscrew some of the screws. So you could save this part, but I chose to just rip it completely off. So in general, I've taken apart quite a lot of stuff over the past year, and I've noticed that with Elgato products it's always fairly easy to do, and they always design it in a way to where you can replace pretty much every component, which is really great, because I've seen a lot of products where if one component breaks, then all of it just ends up in a landfill. Whoa. I mean, look at that, that's just a little bracket that holds the USB-C cable in place, which makes my life so much easier trying to build something new out of this. This is great. So as you can see, I don't really have the Streamdeck Plus set up yet, but one button that I do have on there is the file structure macro. This is something I created a couple of years ago. When I hit that button, it creates the entire file structure to keep your workflow organized. Found it. Alright, so this is you can see how dusty it is. I just left it. Oh, it has SD and micro SD card readers on the side. That's really useful. We can definitely use this or something. Yeah, actually I did try to connect a hard drive to this USB-C port just to check out if it would actually allow like drive pass-through. It didn't. But so my plan at this point is to plug the cam link into this USB hub somehow, but it isn't actually fast enough to accommodate the cam link, I believe, because the hub is 5 gigabits per second, but that's split over all of the ports, right? So if you plug in 2 SSDs, for example, into this hub and that cam link 4K, and then run that cam link at 4K quality, I do think it will run into some issues there. But if this USB hub was 10 gigabits per second, then it would just be totally fine. But yeah, I really want to do this build with Elgato only products because they're so reliable, right? This component is really heavy for some reason. I don't know. So I've actually been using Streamdeck in my editing workflow for quite a long time already, before Elgato actually reached out. And the way I utilize it over here is I have my hand resting on this, you know, super speed editor, and I can scroll through the timeline with my middle finger. And this is something that Elgato is missing actually. I would really like to see them make like a main control dial that you can use to scroll through the timeline, because this one is really nice and smooth, you get the like. I like the clickiness of these buttons as well. They feel a lot more clicky than they used to be, which is good. So at this point in the process, I take it to the 3D scanning station just to get all of the PCBs into the CAD software with accurate measurements. So if you don't know what a 3D scanner is, it basically uses LiDAR tech and lasers and somehow creates like a one-to-one accurate measurement of the thing that you're scanning. This one is the CS Scan Raptor, which is especially good for like smaller items. I've tried the other mode that's on there and that doesn't work at all, but for these smaller PCBs it's perfect. Now, it's a really expensive device. I don't want you to think that this is necessary to do these kinds of projects. I used to use a caliper and just measure everything up, but that takes quite a long time to do, and it's very intensive in the way that you have to think about what you're doing constantly. With the 3D scanning station, you know, I'm just there like zoning out while I'm scanning this stuff, so it's a really relaxing thing to do. If you'd like access to the 3D scans, you can definitely check those out on my Patreon. I upload pretty much everything I make in regards to the models and in regards to the 3D scans as well. So after that we can throw it into the CAD software and we have to align it all. But I wish there was some kind of aligning feature in this stuff where it would just automatically be straight. That's not the case though, so it does take a little bit of effort to get that all nice and uniform. As soon as we have all of those PCBs there though, you can pretty quickly just create a model around all of this stuff, and it reduces quite a lot of waste because you're not doing multiple iterations of a print. So another example of how useful it can be to just optimize the edit to your edit style is retime controls. So that's like the speed and duration of the clip, and I have them set up to these two buttons over here. So you can click those to open retime and the insert edit points over here as well, and then you can quickly speed up a clip like that. And then you can hide those controls as well by pressing them again. In terms of how I went about this design process, I noticed during the EDC multi-tool video, when I was watching a Star Wars playthrough, that the design itself also became like Star Wars themed. And so I implemented the same tactic here. So after about 7 episodes of the Obi-Wan series and the Acolyte series from Star Wars, we could send that off to the 3D printer. I used the Bambu Lab A1 here again. I wasn't expecting it to be functioning within a single print. Usually there's something wrong to the point where we have to reprint it, and if I'd known that this design was going to be final, probably would have put a little bit more effort into the mounting situation, but we'll get into that a little later on. So if you're enjoying the video so far, by the way, definitely consider subscribing. If you don't subscribe, then you might never see another one of my videos because it doesn't end up in your suggested feed and you might miss something. After removing all those support structures, I made sure to do a quick test fit, and pretty much everything fit except for the XLR interface, which was blocked by the Camlink insert. So I made this like sliding insert for the Camlink thing, and because there's like a wall there, it didn't really fit into place. So I quickly checked the other inserts, like the USB hub, the Camlink thing, and those both fit. So I wanted to like make sure that this design works and make sure that we don't have to print it again. I basically took a pair of scissors to the wall over there and just like snapped it open, bent it out of place so that the XLR input could fit in there perfectly. So I printed it in blue this time because I'm kind of running low on the black filament and I want to keep that for a special project, but also because we'll be painting this one. It's the first time that I'm actually painting a 3D print. You definitely want to wear a mask while you're doing this because you can see like the buildup of the microplastics on the sanding machine over there. You don't want to move that in. And under my thumb is a Streamdeck Mini, and I use that to insert an edit, which basically makes a cut, so to say. And then if I scroll a little bit further, do another insert edit, I can, ripple delete with my middle finger over here. So I hit that and it ripple deletes. So you can see how fast you can go through a timeline, right? You go to a certain point in that clip, you hit insert edit, go to the next point where you want the clip to start again, insert edit again, and then ripple delete with your middle finger. After everything was sanded down, I went to the store, got some wood filler, and then layered that with some isopropanol. I'm not sure if you're supposed to do that with isopropanol, but it worked okay. Basically something that evaporates really quickly, right? So that you can paint it on, and then really quickly go on to the next layer. And then eventually it should have kind of you know, you shouldn't really be able to see the layer lines anymore. And then you sand it down with some high grit sandpaper. So I think I'm using 160 grit here, and then eventually also 200 grit. And once it was all sanded down, I went past it with a wet towel just to clean off some of the dust. At this point it already looked really great. Like if I had the white Streamdeck, I probably would have left it like this. And the theme really matches with Star Wars in my opinion. So definitely also let me know in the comments which one you preferred. If you preferred like the blue version with the white, or like the white version with the blue rims, or the black version, or like the version we'll showcase in the end. Let's say I do have one dial set up over here, which is zoom for the timeline, and that was because my mouse had failed, so this is pretty cool. After that paint had dried, I made sure to sand the edges with some really high grit sandpaper just to get the color of that blue like shining through again. Gives the whole thing a lot more texture in a way, and yeah, it makes it look like a more weathered device. But it is kind of strange because the Streamdeck itself is really clean and doesn't look the same as the outer casing at all. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure if we nailed the theme there. Maybe we should have taken apart the Streamdeck as well. So after that we can put it all together. The first thing I put in there was the XLR interface, and that one is screwed in via the front with some bolts there, with the original bolts that came with it essentially, and then also via the PCB into the 3D print itself. And on the other side there were also some gaps like underneath that main segment, but I couldn't actually reach that, so I didn't really bother to screw those in place. The USB hub as well, it just snaps into place with the USB port sticking out a little bit. So maybe we could have made that faceplate a little bit thicker, and then it's just bolted into place with M4 bolts. Camlink one, I didn't really do too good of a job with this one, so that one slides into place. And then there's this little faceplate which holds it there as well, so when you plug in a HDMI cable it doesn't like shoot backwards. Also, like, I completely skipped on the idea of having extra cooling on this thing. So my initial idea was to put like an extra heatsink on there with like some fans that come in from the side. But I was really excited as soon as I got started and as soon as I took it all apart. I really wanted to get this video out. So I wanted to do a quick little showcase over here. So we have it connected to the base mount of this kind of like talking headshot stand thing. So we can actually roll this around and, you know, capture pretty, like YouTube videos pretty quickly. This was kind of invented by Caleb Pike from DSLR Video Shooter. But as it is right now, these are all Streamdeck or Elgato products, right? We have the Elgato prompter, the Elgato key light, and this whole situation over here. I was expecting to do some troubleshooting, and that wasn't the case. I just plugged it in. Everything started working straight away. So the Camlink started working. I could also, like, you know, control the light via the Streamdeck, which is really cool. You can also turn it off by clicking on it, turn it back on, and also adjust the color temperature. So as it stands right now, I don't think this was a very innovative project in any regard, because we're just taking Elgato hardware and putting it inside a single casing, right? But it did turn out into a really awesome device that you can just grab out your bag, set it up real quickly, and record a YouTube video, for example. But then you have the extra functionality of the Streamdeck right now, which you can use for all kinds of tasks like editing, and it just speeds up a lot of things, right? Because you have those macros. So in terms of the audio quality as well, it's actually coming through the XLR port over here, and it's going up to a boom microphone up there, the exact same microphone that I use on the main setup, so you can kind of compare what my voice sounds like, because I do have to feeding that as some amount of processing going on in that compartment over there. But actually having this device set up right now is giving me a lot of new ideas for what we can actually do with this thing. So initially I thought this would be it, right? This would be final. But I've gained a lot of new inspiration from actually utilizing it in this manner and seeing how stable it is. And sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating, you know, having finished a project and then being like, well, that is cool, but now it's giving me new inspiration for something that we could maybe do with it in the future as well. And it feels like nothing is ever finished. And yeah, sometimes that's just how it works. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it gave you some inspiration for your own projects. I hope to see you in the next one.